Hey guys, on this video I'm gonna be reviewing the first episode of Devs. So this is the new mini-series from FX and Hulu, showing in the UK on BBC. And it's from Alex Garland, so this new science fiction thriller mystery type show. And Alex Garland, in case you don't know people, he has a really big history in movies. He was a script writer originally, did a lot of the script for Danny Boyle, like he did The Beach, he did Sunshine as well. And then he broke into like directing his own movies. And he's done things like Annihilation, the recent Netflix movie, and he did Ex Machina, so has quite an impressive CV, it's fair to say. But this is his first television series, and it's an 8-episode mini-series, so it's going to be a one-off story, self-contained. And the exciting thing is, if you're a fan of Garland, then he writes and directs every episode, so that's something to look forward to, and at least you get that continuity of his vision. So for me, this is one of the most highly anticipated shows of 2020, and potentially a show of the year contender. So there's actually not much plot to talk about in this first episode. A lot of it is set up, and I think with it being Garland, it's such a visually striking show, and it's about like immersing you in the universe and kind of like the mysteries of it. But the basic plot is then you have this couple of Sergey and Lily. And they both work in tech. They both work at almost like this Apple like tech company, but who are very much futuristic and almost are seen as like running outside of the mainstream, or running quite an alternative type of practice. And Sergey works in AI. And one day he is offered a job, like a promotion to a different branch of the tech company, and that's by Forrest, who's played by Ron Swanson himself, that being Nick Offerman out of Parks and Recreation. And yeah, he's offered a promotion to this department called Devs of the Title, and then something happens not long after he gets there, and he ends up going missing, and his girlfriend Lily is suspicious that then something is afoot, then there's something she's not being told. And so it's kind of at the end of the episode where she starts investigating, which is kind of all I can tell you, sort of spoiler free, so I will go into spoilers in a moment. So yeah, if you don't want to listen to any further, in a moment I'll give you my general thoughts first. So I really liked the first episode. I really got immersed in the world. It does have this very distinct look to it, this dreamlike sort of look, and like just the atmosphere and the visuals, they were just so like hypnotic. I was like seduced into it, and I think just how impressive the visuals are, I think that kind of immerses you in the world of the show. And I think also it just adds to this sense of the surreal, of this mystery. I think this tech place, and Devs in particular, is like, it has like this visually distinguished sort of like language to it, which sort of makes it different to the real world. And it's definitely, making a point, I think, about like about like class and about money and riches. I mean, one of the first things we see is Lily and Sergei go off to work, and they have a homeless person on their doorstep, and he's someone they know because they address him, but it's just like the contrast of him struggling on the streets, and then they go off to like this really fancy sort of rich tech company, and are living pretty comfortable, middle class existence, if you like. Um, so it's brilliantly directed, as you would expect from Garland. It has some really suspenseful moments as well, really great use of sound and just subtle like visuals that kind of are quite suspenseful. So a scene where the Forrest character like pops out of nowhere like to confront Sergei, which I'll talk more about, but that's like a really well handled moment of suspense. And yeah, just some of the sound design. It has like this kind of industrial type drone to it. But the mystery is intriguing. I think Offerman's really well cast because for anyone who's seen him in Parks and Recreation, he's very deadpan, and I mean the character of Ron Swanson is kind of this very anti-establishment sort of guy, and I think in this case the character has this very hippie kind of godlike presence to him. I mean his sort of look is very like of someone who is almost like a godlike character. He's sort of preachy, but in a very like isolated, restrained sort of way, where he's just very dry. Like he shows very little emotion, or like yeah, it's very hard to read him, which is perfect for the drama because of course it becomes clear quite quickly then there's something not quite right about him and his firm, and from Lily's point of view, she kind of picks up on the fact that something just isn't quite right. There's something more going on than her boyfriend just going missing. But yeah, Offerman's great in this role. He's ideal sort of casting. Also, Alison Pill's in there, who's another really good sort of character actress. She pops up in quite a lot. She was, of course, in Picard recently. She was in Newsroom a few years ago. Been in various things, but she's always really good. She doesn't have that much to do in this episode. She plays like this other character at Devs, and she's like appears to be working alongside the Forrest character. We don't sort of see much of her. She has this one moment with Sergei, because there's this scene where he's trying to crack a code at Devs, and he just like sort of vomits. I mean, I guess this is spoilers anyway now, so yeah, if you don't want to hear any more, then turn off now. But yeah, he has a reaction. He's getting so like intense trying to break this code, then he actually literally vomits. And Alison Pill, her character Katie, I think her name was, has this scene with him where he's kind of saying, well, if this code is sort of legit, then it changes everything we know about the world. And then she has this poignant sort of response, which is, well, actually, I think it changes nothing about the world, and that's the point, sort of thing. But she has a couple of small scenes, like she's there later on with Forrest as well, after what has happened. So at this point, you're sort of unclear about what exactly her role in all this is. Um, but yeah, I was very immersed in the first episode, very intrigued by the mystery behind it. So, I mean, again, to go into spoilers, what they actually do is Sergei goes to this place and Forrest literally tells him then there's kind of no rules here. It's like outside of society, outside of the mainstream, really. And he doesn't tell Sergei what his job is. He just says, experiment with this code and you'll work it out. So there's almost like this idea of there's like total freedom. There are no rules here. So he just leaves Sergei to like experiment on these codes, and that's when Sergei basically has like the reaction to it that we see. But then things like take a turn when Sergei, he's just getting so frantic and he actually leaves, and that's when he's confronted in the woods by Forrest. And that's a real like kind of suspenseful moment. But yeah, this is another example of how Offerman's so perfect for this role, because he does this whole speech. It's a great speech. It might be the highlight of the episode, actually, in terms of just something a character's saying, like the dialogues. But he does this whole speech about how the world is just like deterministic, how the world runs by laws, like physical laws, and how even if people don't realize it, they are on a path. And he uses like the metaphor of like sort of train tracks, that they may be invisible but they are there. So his point is then the decisions we make, they are governed by something. They are not our own decisions. They're all based on something. There's a structure to life, and that prevents people from having free will, if you like. And then the surprise of the scene is that Sergei has actually like taken the codes. He's like inserted the code into his watch, which Forrest calls the James Bond like watch, and that's where they've basically made the decision to do away with him. But again, Forrest puts it in an interesting way, where he says, "You were always going to make that decision, so I don't blame you for it. You are forgiven." But at the same time, he obviously makes the decision to have him killed off. So you've got this character who was vetting him earlier, which is quite an interesting scene, because the amount of details he goes to, and it's definitely poking at some themes here, because like this character, he makes a point of raising the issue over, because Sergei is like Russian originally, and his girlfriend Lily is Chinese, or at least has Chinese origins. Sergei points out she was born in this country, but anyway, or America is what I mean by that country. But anyway, there's a big deal made about this. There's this question of, well, are you religious? And just pressing him for personal information, how long they've been going out, is it serious, are they gonna like get married one day, have kids, all that. So I think it's getting into like things like that. Although I guess with Devs being this sort of like this alternative type place, it's almost like it's the opposite of a lot of like these kind of things in science fiction. I think it's almost suggesting then actually they wouldn't want him to have any attachments, and they would maybe encourage that. But anyway, as I was saying, the scene takes a turn with Forrest when he confronts him with the fact that he's taken the code and put it on his wristwatch. And yeah, he makes the decision to kill him, even though he frames it as I don't really blame you because you've been put on the path, and given the path you've been put on, you were only ever going to make this decision. So the way he presents it is that he doesn't blame it. It's almost like saying, yeah, you're a typical human. Quite a cynical worldview, really, and he has him killed. It's a really dramatic scene. The guy who was vetting him earlier, like, chokes him out with a bag over his head for several minutes. But yeah, a really dramatic death. But I think what I really like actually about the episode, and Forrest is the standout character from the first episode, is then you've got these ideas at play. You've got this idea about how, like, modern life, in society, we don't have free will. I'm not saying that we don't, but that's the idea put forward by Forrest, and then we are all controlled. That kind of thing. It is sort of put forward, and it's kind of this thing where Forrest is this sort of character where, on the one hand, he's presenting himself as not being judgmental, though I think we kind of get the gist, and then he is, like, very murky. But at the same time, he sort of is being judgmental, and because of what the action he takes, then that obviously makes him a lot more murky. But you've got these ideas at play, so to have, like, essentially what is a sinister character but have these kind of ideas as well, I think makes him very intriguing, and Nick Offerman doing a great job. So we see what actually happens, but then obviously the focus switches to the girlfriend, and she doesn't know what happened. So she goes in the next day and says, Sergei's missing, or do you know anything? And they actually show her, like, this footage of him leaving Dev's and like heading towards the car park. And it's off campus, so the guy says, sorry, but we can't track him once he's out off campus. And obviously, they must like constructed this footage or something, set it up. And so she's convinced something's happened. She thinks there's something up really from the start, and it's quite an interesting bit when she tries to get into, like, Sergei's phone, trying to get through his code, and she's can't. And one of the little touches I quite like is the fact that you've got, like, Sudoku on there, and you even need a password for that. So it's kind of painting, like, this really extreme world where even like a sort of a leisurely game like that, you have to have a password. But yeah, then like another day passes, and she's, like, called into Dev's, and they show her another video, and this time the video is of him killing himself, that being Sergei, him, like, pouring gasoline over his head, setting himself on fire, and obviously really dramatic moment. So again, you assume they've staged this, so they appear to have gone to great lengths. And yeah, she runs outside, she's frantic, and she actually runs into the car park, and there's a body. They've managed to, like, come up with this crime scene, and there's the body. Obviously, with this being a sci-fi show and the sort of mystery it is, you think, well, there could be something more to this. I mean, how have they staged this? But I guess that's to be found out. But yeah, the ending does hit quite well. Also, in the previous scene, she goes to an ex-boyfriend who we find out he's very bitter. He sort of says, "Then I was really pleased when you got this new job, this promotion, and I was willing to support you, and then you just sort of dropped me and you went with this guy who was in AI, that being Sergey." So again, I think it's poking at these themes to do with like divisions and to do with almost different classes and kind of how manipulative this sort of like this sort of firm, this sort of almost cult type movement can be. But Lily asks like the boyfriend to ask, sorry, to help her get the code, to crack the code, and he basically says fuck you. And you wonder if he might come back into play, if she will like persuade him to help her. Eventually, it was one of the weaker scenes. I thought the drama wasn't very well played. Obviously, at this point, we don't know too much about the character, and that actually brings me to, I think, my only disappointment of the episode, and that's just the fact that the actress playing Lily really isn't very good. Now, I think early in the episode, it's kind of not too bad because it's just typical scenes with her and Sergey as a couple, and she's quite reserved, and that's sort of fine for what's happening. But as things move on and she's meant to be showing like emotion, she's meant to be like sort of stressed out, you can tell the actress just isn't. She's very wooden, unfortunately, and she just like, it's so over the top, the scenes where she's meant to be showing this anxiety, and the very last scene when she sees Sergey killing himself and then runs out to the car park, it's very sort of over the top and melodramatic, and I think that's really mostly to do with her acting. So it's not too good in terms of her and the performance. I mean, the character might still be good, we don't know yet. Obviously, see how it develops. There's obviously going to be a lot of focus on her now, then she's obviously not going to let this rest. But that's my one complaint at this stage. I mean, fingers crossed, there might be enough to the drama, there might be enough other stuff, then it'll distract from that. But we'll see. I mean, she's going to be quite central, so that could be a problem. But overall, I really like this first episode. It's very impressive. The visual like style, the direction, the mystery. Obviously, you've got, as I said, Offerman's very good. Alison Pill's a good actress, so that's going to be seeing more of her character as well is something I look forward to. But yeah, that's the big thing at the moment. I think the universe of the show is like really engaging, and also the mystery element it's been set up in a promising way. So that's my review of episode 1 of Devs. If you've seen this first episode, then let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe. You can contact me on Twitter as well with any questions, any suggestions for the channel, and you can also like ding the bell on YouTube to get notification of new videos when they go up. But thanks for listening, and I'll be back with another review of Dev soon. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.